kind of crazy to think that we are almost in the month of May, which is approaching the halfway mark of this year, which is insane. And we're almost in June with still no real big first-party Nintendo presentation, no big first-party video game announcements from Nintendo, and really just an overall quiet year from them. There's really been nothing so far, no hype or anything to really talk about, and Nintendo's just kind of been going through the motions, just waiting for the next two games to come out, which is Paper Mario: The Thousand Year Door and Luigi's Mansion 2. So the question is, what is the rest of Nintendo's 2024 going to look like? It's really hard to say, and this year is just so different from the past, so it's hard to predict exactly what Nintendo's going to do, based on rumors of there being internal delays of the next console, and just everything being pushed back, and this just being a quiet period for Nintendo. We gotta try to predict what Nintendo's going to do for the rest of the year. Now, there's no possible way Nintendo's going to go from July to December with absolutely no video game releases. There is a chance there might only be like 1 or 2 releases, and Nintendo decides to use the rest of this year and the holiday season in order to hype up and show off the brand new console. They gotta show it off first, or just announce that it's a thing. But they definitely could just use the hype and momentum for that new console as the big holiday game this year. I think a lot of people would enjoy just being hype and seeing what new games are coming to this new console. But with that aside, we have to try to predict if Nintendo is going to have any other games this year. Are there going to be any other general Nintendo Directs? Are we finally going to get the first one for this year? Are we going to get any type of presentation for the next console? What is 2024 going to have in store for us for the rest of this year? Well, that's what we're here to figure out today. Real quick before we dive in, we are super close to 300,000 subscribers, so stop what you're doing. A lot of you watching this right now are still not yet subscribed. To help us reach our goal, you guys are amazing, and let's jump into the video. So first off, I want to say I don't think there's any new games coming to Nintendo Switch this year. I'm talking new original games. If we're going to get games, they're going to be remakes, remasters, or ports. I think the Switch is done with original software, and maybe I'm wrong. Maybe there's still some smaller things that Nintendo can release, maybe like a Rhythm Heaven or something like that we've been missing, because I think one of the only major games that we have not gotten right now from the Nintendo Switch is, of course, Donkey Kong. Now, you could also say Metroid Prime 4, but you did get Metroid Prime 1, you got Metroid Dread, so Metroid was on the Switch in some capacity, but we really didn't get Donkey Kong. The only thing we got is Tropical Freeze, which is like a direct port from the Wii U, just adding a Funky Kong mode, which is an easy mode. But as great as that game is, it's time for a new Donkey Kong game, and I think that's like one of the last things that Nintendo could possibly have for the current Switch. Would they release something like that on current Switch though? That's the question. I don't think so. I think at this point in time, you probably want to wait for the next console, and that's exactly what they might do. So that means there's probably no new titles coming this year. Now, there has been rumors suggesting that Nintendo is just sitting on tons of games still that they haven't really announced yet, and it could be lots of remasters and remakes and ports. I mean, people are still waiting on Wind Waker and Twilight Princess to come out on the Switch. I've kind of given up hope for these two games, and maybe Nintendo's just waiting for a future console to put them out, which is fine, because then you could be like, you skipped a generation, now people really want them even more on the next Switch. So I don't really have a big problem with that, since they were both on the Wii U. And also, you got Metroid Prime 2 and 3. Now, these are the ones that I'm keeping my eye on, because Nintendo seemed like they were going to release them, in like little grace periods. Like each Direct, we was going to get a new announcement of the next Metroid Prime to come out as a remaster or some type of remake. But I don't know how they're going to release these things. It could be a duo pack real quick to say, hey, here's Metroid Prime 2 and 3 that are slightly, enhanced, and here you go, you can play them. But I feel like they got to get these out in a good time frame between now and Metroid Prime 4. And the fact that they're not out yet makes me think that Metroid Prime 4 is still a little ways away, which is crazy, but I do think that's the case. And no, I do not think we're getting Metroid Prime 4 this year. There's no way they're going to put this game on current Nintendo Switch if this new Switch is just around the corner. They're definitely going to wait, and I think that's just the case. So Metroid Prime 2 and 3 do sound realistic this year. I'd actually be very shocked if they don't happen, and I honestly want to just say that they're probably going to be towards the end of the year, almost like the holiday game, September, October, November timeframe. frame. I think that makes a lot of sense. But Nintendo could release tons of other remakes and remasters just to hold us off. Like F-Zero GX would be amazing because everybody's been jumping on that F-Zero 99 on Switch Online, so why not get a remake now of a game that everyone used to love, or at least what's looked at to be one of the better racers of all time, being F-Zero GX. That would be really fun, and then they can finally see or gauge how many people enjoy this game to see if they want to make a new one. I think that would be the greatest, step to take. Start off with a free online thing, and then the remake, and then move on to a new game. We could finally also maybe see Kid Icarus Uprising HD. Sakurai has been voicing his opinion nonstop, saying that he would love to see something like that happen, so maybe Nintendo is still working on this. Maybe this could happen soon. I think this would be actually a really good time frame to get something like that out towards the end of the Switch, see if people care about it and stuff, and see if this game can win people over to potentially have another game in the future. As far as any other remasters or remakes, I know Fire Emblem, there was supposed to be some type of remake of Genealogy of the Holy War back on the SNES, so I wonder if that's still a thing. I'm very shocked that hasn't been announced yet, but that still could be in the lineup tunnel for this year. So yeah, I know a lot of people are going to watch this and be like, this stinks, and I get it. It does. I know we want new games. I know we want new announcements. But let's move on to why I think this year can still be super exciting. Now, I know once again it's going to be a year of games that probably we played before, and that's fine if Nintendo speaks up. And that is why this year could actually end up being really good, is if Nintendo just gives us some information to be excited about. If we have in our minds that, okay, here come all these ports and remakes and remasters to look forward to, okay, but we also know at the same time that new Switch is coming out on March 20th of next year, so we can prepare for that. We can see what it looks like, we can see what it does, we can get little information pop up here and there throughout the next couple of months, and throughout the rest of the year. And of course the games, because if there is a big new console coming out at the beginning of next year, Nintendo has to reveal some games for it, right? They have to at least get 1 or 2 games announced out there so we can get excited for whatever the launch title is going to be. If it is in fact a big brand new open world 3D Mario game, or whatever the next big 3D Mario game is going to be, they gotta announce that thing kind of soon, I feel like. We're getting further and further into the year where Nintendo is getting, shorter and shorter with how long it is until this new console launches. So we don't know. The rumors are suggesting the beginning of next year, probably around the same time as Switch, which was in March. So if that's the case, Nintendo's running out of time. They need to start announcing some stuff. For instance, Nintendo's next investor meeting is at the end of May, and we are just a week away until May. So Nintendo, I feel like, has to announce the existence of this new console, something about this new console, before the end of May. It would be so weird if they didn't, because I'm like, what are they going to tell investors? Oh, we have Paper Mario the Thousand Year Door, and we have Luigi's Mansion 2. They're going to be like, okay, we know this, what else? That's it. So Nintendo has to have, I feel like, something in May, at least just an announcement saying, hey, look forward to this new console reveal in June, or some type of announcement of a presentation or something to get people hyped up. They need to generate that hype, not just for us fans, but also for the investors. Now, in a perfect world, I'd say that we get some type of, physical announcement of there being some type of Switch 2 in May, and maybe even like a mini Nintendo Direct in May, showcasing some things to look forward to, maybe showcasing some, remakes, remasters, and ports coming for the rest of this year. And then in June, they go big with the huge reveal of the console, and they, show all the games and talk about all the games coming as a launch title and all the games coming year 1 of the console, and just really digging deep and showing us everything to expect. And I mean, seriously, this is just as good as, a whole bunch of games being released, because the problem isn't necessarily there's nothing to play. Nintendo has given us tons of games, and there's tons of games out there right now. I believe like over half of us are probably in our backlog. I personally am, for sure. I have so many different games, not even just on Switch, but just games in general that I have to catch up on still, and even old Nintendo games and stuff that I wanted to go back and play. So I have no problem on that standpoint. My problem is I think there just needs to be some hype, because right now the Nintendo community is very just boring. It's very quiet, and it's very just hushed right now. We're trying to just wait and figure out what's going on. I mean, even the leakers, or the supposed leakers, have been quiet. and that's normally not a good sign. So hopefully something starts to pop off soon. As we get into the month of May, it might finally be the time of the year to start generating some hype, and I'm hoping Nintendo does that. But let me know in the comments down below what you think about all this. Do you think Nintendo's finally going to speak up? Do you think there's any other games left for this year that aren't remakes and remasters and ports, maybe some newer titles? Let me know in the comments down below, and make sure you leave a like and subscribe before you head out. And like always, I'll see you all on the next one. See ya, guys.